The leader who chose distance over praise. Praise is seductive. It arrives softly, rewards instantly, and asks for very little in return, except repetition. This story begins with a leader who recognized that praise, once accepted too freely, reshapes judgment in ways power rarely survives. This moment matters today because modern leadership is built around validation. Applause has become currency. Visibility has become proof. And those who lead are often measured not by outcomes, but by reaction. Yet one sheik chose something radically different. He chose distance. Not isolation, not indifference, but intentional separation from the noise that praise creates. Early in his leadership, admiration followed naturally. Decisions landed well. Stability held. Observers responded with approval. Advisors encouraged visibility, urging him to lean into recognition while momentum was strong. Praise, they said, could be leveraged to unify, inspire, and project confidence. He declined, not publicly, not dramatically. He simply reduced exposure. Fewer appearances, fewer statements, fewer moments designed for reaction, while others collected admiration. He redirected attention back into systems, processes, and people who would remain when applause faded. The reveal came gradually. Without constant affirmation, decision-making sharpened. Choices were made for consequence, not reception. Disagreements surfaced earlier. Hard truths reached him unfiltered. Praise, once absent, could no longer distort feedback. Some misread the distance as coldness. Others mistook it for insecurity. But those closest to the work understood what was happening. Leadership was being insulated, not from responsibility, but from distortion. The absence of praise created space where truth could travel without needing permission. That space became powerful. As attention drifted elsewhere, something deeper took root. Loyalty formed not around image, but around trust. Authority no longer depended on approval cycles. It rested on consistency. Still, the cost of distance was real. Praise built protection. Distance removes it. And as the next challenge approached, one that would invite celebration or criticism with equal force, he knew his choice would be tested. Because choosing distance over praise means accepting something far harder, to be misunderstood, and to lead anyway. The effects of distance reveal themselves slowly and not always kindly. Without the buffer praise, criticism reached him more directly. Advisors felt freer to challenge. External voices speculated openly about his absence. Some questioned whether influence was fading. Others wondered if authority was being quietly surrendered. He allowed the noise to pass. Because distance was not about disappearing. It was about removing incentives that distorted behavior. Praise rewards what is visible, not what is necessary. By stepping back, he changed what people optimized for. Decisions were no longer shaped to earn approval. They were shaped to endure scrutiny. The conflict surfaced during a widely successful initiative. Results exceeded expectations. Public enthusiasm surged. Advisors urged him to step forward, to embody the success, to claim the moment before others defined it for him. Visibility, they argued, would consolidate support and silence doubt. He refused again, not because the success was unworthy, but because claiming it would change the culture he was building. Ownership would shift upward, credit would centralize, and the very people who had carried the work would learn that recognition flowed only one way. Instead, he redirected attention outward. Teams were acknowledged, institutions highlighted. The system absorbed the credit. Praise, instead of collecting at the center, dispersed. The reaction was mixed. Some felt empowered. Others felt exposed. Without a figurehead to absorb scrutiny, responsibility became heavier. Mistakes could no longer hide behind popularity. Success no longer guaranteed protection. Distance demanded maturity from everyone involved. The turning point came when a setback followed shortly after. Not severe, but visible. Critics moved quickly, framing absence as avoidance. Calls for reassurance returned. The familiar script offered itself again. Appear, explain, reassure, reclaim trust. He did none of it. The system responded instead. Those who had been trusted to carry success now carry correction. They spoke openly. They adjusted. They owned the outcome. The absence of a central figure forced credibility to be shared, not borrowed. And in that moment, something rare happened. Trust did not collapse. It redistributed. People began to understand that leadership was not retreating from accountability. It was redefining where accountability lived. Still, the tension had not vanished. Distance protects judgment, but also magnifies doubt. And the next phase would test whether authority could survive not just without praise, but without reassurance. That test would come when silence no longer felt strategic, but personal. Distance began to reshape the environment around him in ways few anticipated. Without the constant signal of approval from above, people adjusted their behavior. Decisions slowed at first, then sharpened. Words were chosen more carefully. Actions carried more weight. Praise, once a guiding force, no longer set the rhythm. This unsettled many. In the absence of visible affirmation, doubt crept in. Some wondered whether silence meant dissatisfaction. Others feared they were being tested without knowing the rules. Praise had once provided clarity. Distance replaced it with responsibility. The conflict surfaced during a moment of clear success. A major initiative exceeded expectations, delivering results faster and stronger than projected. Momentum built instantly. Advisors pressed for visibility, urging him to step forward and claim the moment. Public affirmation, they argued, would lock in confidence and reinforce authority. He declined again, not because success didn't matter, but because claiming it would distort what followed. Praise concentrates attention. Attention reshapes incentives. And once incentives shift toward recognition, judgment follows close behind. He would not allow success to become a trap. Instead, recognition flowed outward. Teams were acknowledged, processes highlighted. Responsibility remained where effort lived. The absence of central praise forced the system to absorb both credit and scrutiny evenly. The reaction was uneven. Some leaders grew stronger, stepping into ownership with confidence. Others felt exposed, suddenly aware that approval would no longer cushion missteps. Distance demanded capability, not alignment, and capability, once required, revealed gaps that praise had quietly concealed. Then came the setback, minor, but visible enough to test trust. Critics moved quickly, framing absence as evasion. Calls for reassurance returned. The familiar path was clear. Appear, explain, calm, restore confidence through presence. He chose distance again. This time, the system responded without waiting. Those responsible addressed the issue directly. Corrections were made openly. Accountability stayed local. No one looked upward for cover. Silence from the top no longer created paralysis. That moment changed everything. Trust did not disappear without praise. It relocated. People understood that authority was not retreating. It was refusing to interfere. Distance was no longer misread as detachment. It became a signal. Judgment lived here, not above. Still, the cost remained. Distance offers no protection from doubt. And as the next challenge approached, one that would test not outcomes, but confidence itself, the question sharpened. Could leadership endure without praise? When reassurance itself was demanded, the moment arrived when reassurance itself became the demand. Not because something had failed, but because uncertainty lingered too long without affirmation. Confidence, once sustained by visibility, now faced its hardest test. Enduring without it, voices grew louder. Commentators questioned intent. Allies requested clarity. The absence of praise, once strategic, was now framed as emotional distance. Leadership, some argued, required presence to be believed. He understood the risk. Distance protects judgment, but it also invites projection. Silence becomes a canvas for assumption. And yet, stepping forward now would undo everything that had been built. Reassurance given too easily would re-centralize dependence. Praise would return as currency. Responsibility would drift upward again. So he held. That was the climax. Not a speech, not a declaration, but restraint at the precise moment visibility would have been easiest to justify. He trusted the structure he had shaped, trusted that confidence rooted in experience could outlast confidence fueled by reassurance. And it did, slowly, The demand for affirmation faded, not because it was answered, but because it was no longer needed. People adjusted expectations. Authority recalibrated. What had once required presence now required consistency. Distance, sustained long enough, transformed from absence into reliability. The resolution followed quietly. Leadership culture shifted. Praise lost its power to distort. Success was no longer chased for reaction. Failure was addressed without fear of disappointment from above. Judgment matured because it no longer depended on approval. Standing apart, he recognized the final truth of the path he had chosen. Praise is loud but fleeting. Distance is quiet but formative. By choosing distance over praise, he had not withdrawn from leadership. He had anchored somewhere deeper, where confidence is earned through action and trust survives without constant reassurance. Leadership did not weaken without praise. It stabilized, and in that stability, something rare endured. Authority that no longer needed to be affirmed to exist. Subscribe to join the journey. The leader